Tonight, we have an interview with another one of the original 25 artists of Magic the Gathering. His name is Dameon Willich, and believe it or not, being one of the founding artists of the biggest card game in the world is just one example of the various ridiculously cool jobs he's had in his ridiculously cool life. And you can find out this and more by checking out the interview that will begin right about now.
Thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
You bet. Appreciate it.
So this is the question you've been asked every time, but you got to get it out of the way. How did you get involved with Magic, becoming one of the first 25 artists that was involved with the game?
Peter Atkinson was running around at one of the local sci-fi conventions, and I guess he liked my art that I had at the panels at the time because I was hanging in the art shows, and he just approached me and said, "Would you even consider doing some work for us?" And I said, "Sure." I liked supporting all of our local companies. There was a lot of them. They told me that, doing it, they really couldn't pay anything. They'd trade me stock, and I already had stock in about 8 other gaming companies that had little games going at the time. And I said, not a problem. I was working for DC Comics at the time. And so it wasn't about the money. It was about helping other people get a game up and going because, games needed to be made. And little did I know it was going to become one of the top selling games in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I think it might be the top selling at this point.
I think it was for a while. I don't know because I don't follow it, but it was the number 1 game in the world for a while. Wizards of the Coast made $1 billion last year. So, well, that means Hasbro made a lot of money.
So. Oh, Hasbro, yes, but for sure. But when was it that you became aware that the game was becoming something that you had no idea that it was? What was that moment for you?
The real moment was when they contacted me to send me a royalty check. And because the original artists, we were given actual artist rights and royalties, like we used to fight for all the time, and they gave it to us. And then, I got contacted, and it's like, well, here, send it to this address. And they sent me a check, and I about fell over.
I know it's gauche to ask, but what was it? What was could you give us the digits? I can't help it. I'm Howard Stern driven in that way.
I think the very first royalty check I got was like $22,000.
Holy cow. Wow.
And then I was getting these checks like each quarter for a while. And it was like, it just blew me away. And as the more the game did, the better off for all the artists that were in the original groups. I hear now that they don't do that.
No.
Royalties. It's all work for hire.
Yes.
But back at the time, it was the deal that they made with us. And it was, you take a risk, but it wasn't that big of a risk because, all we're doing is little tiny paintings about this big. So.
And I'd also heard that you guys were also offered the options of stock as well.
We were paid with stock, and I sold my stock. Unfortunately, I didn't know that Hasbro was getting ready to buy Wizards at the time. So I think there was some insider trading going on. But, again, I sold the stock, and I used the money to start a company that I've been running for about 30 years. So it was
Tell me about that company. Tell me what company is it?
It's called the Seattle Knights. It's a traveling jousting troupe. Yeah. So we run around the country and kill each other for fun and profit over and over again.
That's fantastic.
It was.
Now, sorry, I got one of my pups.
No, that's all right. It kind of stopped when COVID hit. But that was okay because I'm too old to play. So we turned it over to younger generation that is now out there still playing the game. So
and do Do you still have a hand in it, or do you just sort of, are you sort of
A
like,
bit. I still help with the teaching so that the next generation can continue to do what needs to be done and everybody stays alive.
and is that what we see in the background of you, behind you, all these
Yeah,
swords?
that's some of it. Here, I'll reach off stage and grab this fine. Can you see that?
Oh, wow.
That was me, 1998, 99.
And how
And
did you not die of heat exhaustion?
it got warm, but you just get used to it.
I mean,
It's just one of those things you work on, I mean,
that's
you put on a bunch of steel and turn it into an oven.
yeah, because I mean, I'm a sweater, so that would probably cause me to like. I'm the type of person that I can lose actually 10 pounds of water weight a day. Like,
You definitely end up learning to stay hydrated while you're doing this.
my
So,
goodness, I can't even
it
imagine.
was a lot of fun.
So, what was your first assignment for Magic? What was the very first card that you got?
I think we got batches of 5, if I remember correctly.
Hmm?
Jesper Myfors was the art director at the time, and Jesper gave me 5 cards to do. I want to say Stone Giant, Flash Fires, and there was 2 red ones. Stone Giant and Flash Fires, I think, were the 2 reds, and then they gave me 2 green ones at the same time. And I think one of those was Gaea's Liege, which is one of my favorite cards. And the other one, I think, was Life Force, which is one of my least favorite cards. But and when I say cards, I'm talking about the art that I did, because I didn't understand the cards. They just gave me the title. And if they had a description of what it would do, then they gave me a little bit of the description as well. They'd say, oh, it's a green card and it's called Life Force. That's all I knew about Life Force.
Mm-hmm.
So, a little embryo growing in an egg, and it was all done in green. That's how Life Force ended up. Gaea's Liege, I was working on Warlord, the comic for DC at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So poor Travis Morgan ended up becoming Gaea's Liege with some antlers stuck on his head. So it's pretty much what happened there.
It's gorgeous, though. It really is. I mean, it's a gorgeous piece of work, and
it is probably one of my favorite cards of all the cards that I did paint at the time.
And when you say like the one you said, what was the one that you said that was your least favorite again?
I said Life Force was one of my least favorites. That one and Chaos Lace were both kind of, what am I doing with this? But I just sit down and get them done, and then send them over or go over and take them over to Jesper, and then go back home and get back to work on the comics, because you get paid by the page while you're drawing them. So
right.
Or
it's but I mean, but I it's always rough to hear you guys being so hard on yourselves for that. But what's kind of cool about your like one of your pieces that I've seen actually is the glacial wall. There is a shout out to that, or at least it's an homage to it. In the recent Kaldheim set, I believe they have I think it's Kaldheim, where they have a very similar image of a wolf trying to go up against an ice wall, and I found that very entertaining. But
would you like to hear the story about Glacial Wall?
I would love to hear the story about Glacial Wall.
Okay. At one of the conventions I was at, I held a little raffle to give money to some, I think it was Make-A-Wish Foundation or something or another along those lines. And anyway, the raffle was, whoever won the raffle, I would put them on the next card I painted. And the guy who won wanted me to put his dog on the card. So instead of a wolf, that's actually this guy's husky.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looked more like a husky.
And then he ended up getting, after the card was scanned and everything, I think he ended up with the card original art as well.
Wow. Speaking of, do you have any of your originals still on hand? No?
I sold all of those probably in 1995, 96, that time period. There was a gentleman in the University District in Seattle who had opened up a little art gallery right on University Avenue. And he was running around and picking up as many of these originals as he could from all the artists that were living here in the area. And he had come by and bought some of mine at one of the conventions, and then he had talked to me afterwards. And so I sold him most of them, and he turned around and tried to sell them through the gallery at the time. I don't even know where most of these originals are anymore.
That's tough. That's tough because, you know, it's almost like
You just send your children out and you let them go wherever they go.
Right,
So.
right. Now, with one that I do find curious about is what was the inspiration behind Reverse Damage? Because that seems to be the most anachronistic of all of the ones that I've seen of yours. Where do you remember what the brief said of that, and what was the inspiration for the lady? What was the creation behind that?
Former girlfriend is who the person is. The inspiration, Reverse Damage. Yeah, I knew it was going to be, you know, magic happening. So magic and lightning seem to go together. So lightning striking the person from behind, and she's just kind of got this enigmatic look on her face of, yeah, who cares, right?
I gotcha.
So, you know, that was kind of the thing. Well, there we go. Later on, I did a remake of all my cards for Daniel Chang. I don't know if you've heard of Daniel.
Yes.
But he owns remakes of all of these original cards that I had done in the first deck. You know, how would I redo it if I was going to do it different, or if I was going to do it a whole different look? And when I redid it, I used an old man who's sitting there just cackling away as this wound in his forehead is sealing back up. But I don't have copies of that either, so you'll have to contact Daniel if you want to see what it looked like. I'm going to show you. I don't know if this will work, but I'm going to try and make it work. There's not a whole lot of things that I had done at that time, and taking pictures of it really wasn't my thing. But I did take a couple of pictures of, I don't know if you can see this on the phone here. Let me see if I can get that up there. This was a repaint for Daniel of the Hurricane. And it started out because I'd finally got to read what the card was supposed to be, and it takes out flying creatures. So it ends up, this is that same piece with the Sierra Angel whirling around in a hurricane blowing her around. And this is one of the few pictures I have of any of those paintings.
You if there's any way you can email them to me via that, I would be happy to put them on the screen so they could be.
Well, they're in my phone, so unless I can text them to you and you can download them or something.
Yeah, you can do that.
This was the remake of Flash Fires, but it's getting kind of hard for you to see it. It's 3 horses that are actually on fire running. So, you know, just weird stuff.
Now,
and unfortunately, those are the only 2 that I actually have any pictures of.
Now, were you like? Am I not looking at this properly? But maybe I'm overseeing it. But were you involved with the Gathering book that came out?
No, I don't think I am.
Now,
I don't think I'm in that book.
Why? What is it? Is it a sensitive subject to go into it, or is it?
No. It's one of those things of, you know, if people don't contact you, or if you don't know about something, then, you know, you hear about it after it happens, kind of thing. And it's not that people probably tried to contact me, but I was probably on the road at the time doing the traveling shows. So,
right.
You know, it makes it really hard to catch up with you.
If you were to do a remake of one of your cards that you did, like say in the theme of that book, what would you choose? What would be one that you would love to just completely recreate and show your change in your artistic?
Life Force. You know, I mean, a lot of people really like the egg. When I did a redo for Daniel Chang on that, I used full-grown humans with space going inside the silhouettes of their bodies, and then on a green background kind of thing. And I would do something along those lines if I was going to do it again.
I mean, it's cool stuff. At the same time, I was wondering too, do you have any, by chance, any of your like cards from the actual original like alpha yourselves? Did you happen to hold on to any of those?
You mean the artist proofs?
The artist proofs, yes, or the actual cards themselves.
These are the artist proofs.
Holy snap!
That I was given. And most of the rest of them I sold to a gentleman named Jay Zeman once upon a time. But that's pretty much a copy of each one of the artist proofs of all the cards I did, including a whole nother game called Middle Earth that was bought out by Jackson's company before they made the movie.
Peter Jackson?
Yeah. They bought out the Middle Earth company. Because there was this card game out there that a whole bunch of us had just finished doing, and it was released, and then they were getting ready to do the Lord of the Rings trilogy, so they bought out that Middle Earth thing so they could put out their own card games.
Now, this could be, I'm not sure if this could be right or wrong, but are you also involved with the film industry as well?
Yes.
Okay, because I'm on, I think it's your IMDb page.
And yeah, I have one.
Yes, and is Journey Quest and
I was the production designer and fight director and stunt coordinator for Journey Quest up until season 3, and then I actually was acting in it.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the last part of that. I started.
I mean, you were even a fighter in Warrior's End, but you did stunts. I mean, a stunt coordinator. Like, okay, explain to me what that entails. I mean, how do you coordinate a stunt? It's like
you set the thing up. You tell people what they need to do, how to do it. You're usually working with people you've already got the training, and or there's people that you've worked with and taught how to do certain things. And then you go out there and you set it all up on how it's going to operate. And then you do however many takes it's going to take to get the stunt correct. The really tough ones is when you're doing horse stunts, like stunts that happen. I worked on a movie called The Postman with Kevin Costner movie. It was one of the very first big ones I was in. And I wasn't actually doing stunt coordination or anything else, but they had a bunch of stunt people there that did not understand the stunts that they were being asked to do. And so I went ahead and showed them off camera how to do their stunts, and then they'd work on it, and then they'd go out and do them because they were mostly young kids up out of California. But it was just fun stuff. And because I was doing a lot of this work and I mean, crashing off your horse in armor is one of the great stunts, and you can keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And audiences love watching knights get knocked off their horses. And the last stunt I personally did was I did it wrong. So I broke myself, and that kind of brought it home that, hey, after you're 60 years old, you just can't keep doing those things.
Holy,
so you have to stop.
You continued this until you were 60?
Yeah, I was still, I was doing the stunts, and I broke myself. I shattered my shoulder and lost the use of my right arm, and later discovered I'd also broken my neck. But
oh my God.
Yeah, fun stuff. But I was like 62 when that one happened. So, that was years ago. But
you don't have any use of your right arm.
Oh, they work now. But,
oh gosh. Okay.
It did put a crimp in me trying to draw or anything else for quite a while. But
now,
you just.
With your artist proofs, would you do? I didn't mean
to cut you
off. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off as far as
No, it's all right.
what you were saying. It's just I get so bombarded. But with your art, obviously the setbacks. I mean, is that something that you were able to get back to where you're comfortable at now as an artist, where you're back to where you were? Or how are things with that?
Every few years or so, I take on some work, but basically I was doing just the acting thing. It was one of those passions I wanted to do. I'd done art for many years. I played that whole starving artist thing for a long time until finally some people, I made the right connections at the right times in the right places. Sometimes that's just the way it is. And, magic being one of those. And the money I made, out of the royalties from magic allowed me to pursue this whole acting thing. My wife, Dara, she had been an actress who'd done like 7 or 8 movies by that time. And she had joined the group with the Knights, and being an avid horsewoman and everything else, we got together and everything clicked. So she helped me learn more about how to act. And at the same time, we tackled this world of craziness out there.
So she was separately an actress prior to you guys meeting?
Yes. Yes, she'd done some things like The Vanishing and a bunch of other stuff.
Really?
And we ended up getting married in 1995 and just chased a career for a while and had a lot of fun. She wrote 11 novels now.
What?
So,
wow.
Yeah.
So
go to tfapress.com or darametzger.com and find listings of books, and in a lot of the cases, stuff that's related to fantasy novels with knights and armor and all that stuff, and then a really well read nonfiction book about the Alaska Airlines airlift of the Jewish nation in 1949 and 1950.
Oh, wow.
Which is, critically acclaimed by everybody, including Alaska Airlines. So it's kind of nice.
And that was, I mean, and this is going to signal me as a very bad Jew. But the story behind that one was did that have to do the airlifting story? What was the story behind that? I claim ignorance on this, but
it was just after Israel had been formed as a nation, and so a lot of the Jewish populations right after World War II were scattered all over the world. In Shanghai, China, there was a big Jewish population. There was a big Jewish population stuck right in the middle of Arab territories. So Alaska Airlines, and a lot of people didn't know about this, they were working with the Jewish relief organization that tried to get all these Jews out of those territories and into Israel. And her parents were both working for Alaska Airlines at that time, and that's where they met and got married. Wow. It was in a little Arab or off Arab village called Asmara. And if you like reading history and studying history, there's a lot of really interesting stuff out there that people could learn about that they didn't really know about, how our own government tried to stop all of this from happening. Just a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, it certainly is. It's something that I'm going to look into because
the book is titled Alaska Over Israel.
Alaska Over Israel.
By Dara Metzger.
Yeah, Metzger. I remember that last name because I know a few Metzgers myself.
All right, there you go.
So to bring it back to the Hollywood thing, because I am completely shallow and all that jazz. So you got to work with Kevin Costner, which is pretty insane. I was wondering, do you have any good fun Hollywood interaction tales to share with? Because I mean, there's got to be some. I mean,
I would have to bite my tongue a lot.
Off.
So I'll just do that. There really is, working is working. And there's, people are people, and they have good days and they have bad days. One of the coolest things I can say about working on The Postman is that was that Kevin Costner was wonderful with the children that they brought on the set.
Mhm.
They had all these young children that were working on the movie, and he was awesome with them. But then he had kids of his own, so he was able to get these kids to do wonderful things in that particular movie. Most people just refer to Postman as Dirt World instead. It's kind of like Water World, and it did okay, but it wasn't a super movie. A lot of people don't even know about it, and that's okay too. Compared to a lot of things that are being done by Disney nowadays.
Right. I mean, but
totally different.
It's. I mean, as far as the critical, looks like it got good, like some good reviews, at least from what I'm looking at. And I know most of the cast. So you said there's no like fun stories, or even maybe some stories of people being complete douchebags that were
No.
sharing. I can't get you to confess those.
Well, I could sit there and say something like, everybody in this sitting around, extras and supporting cast and everybody else knowing the lines of that final scene. By the time we did the 8th or 9th take, we were all saying Kevin's lines for him. But, it just, come on, we got to get out of here, guys.
Yeah, buddy.
Most of it ends up on the cutting room floor anyway. That's just part of the business. And then there was, every day in and day out, another 5-6 people that had said, whoa, they know how to ride. They'd bring somebody else's horse and they get out there and they're doing the rides. And 5 or 6 of them go to the hospital just
Oh my
time
God.
after time.
I that was going to lead me into my next question. What would be the like the scariest stunt that you like, maybe the narrowly narrowly missed something really bad happening? What would be one that you were involved
on that particular show? The scariest stuff that was being done that I was doing is, we had this thing. It's called the postal mount, where the horse is taking off and you swing into the saddle as you go. And they'd have 5 or 6 of us all doing that all at one time. And it seemed like every time, I'd hit the saddle and keep running. And it's really fun because I was riding my wife's horse, because all the bad guys had to ride dark horses. And my wife was riding my horse because, he was a spotted leopard Appaloosa. So he just really looked flashy and stuff. But her horse was a dark blood bay and faster than a firecracker. And I could do that mount until hell froze over. It didn't really matter. But I'd be out there and we'd get to the next where the stop line is, and I'd be stopping, and here would be 4 other horses without riders running past me. And it's like, wow, what happened to all those guys? But the scariest part was crossing the river, because we'd hit the river at the ford. And if somebody was like 2 feet off to the right or the left, they'd miss the ford entirely. And so you'd see them bobbing in the water further down, having to be fished out. I'm not a real fan of water, so I was always right on course for that one.
Yikes! Oh my goodness! Wow! The bobbing water certainly painted an image.
Well, we fished out a dead calf one day, from further down the river. It washed up in the trees and rocks. So.
Oh, that sucks.
You just, it was a lot of fun, and it was cold. I mean, every morning you'd get up and rub the ice off your horse's blankets and just get all dressed up for the day, which, we looked like we were all living in a nuclear winter. Well, in the mornings it was a nuclear winter, but by mid-afternoon, it was 80, 90 degrees and you were dying.
Oh my gosh, it's like you have malaria if you're dressed in like a knight's outfit or something. You're cold in the morning and you're hot in the afternoon.
Yep. It was a lot of fun.
So with your art, is that something that you still actively work on in your own private time, or is that, I know you say you take commissions every once in a while, but is it something that's part of your daily activity? Is that
No, I have a backlog during the whole COVID thing. Well, one, we couldn't get supplies. I'm an airbrush artist, so you have to have airbrush parts, and my airbrushes were pretty old. So now I've had to buy new airbrushes and everything else. but I prefer the ones that I'd worked with to begin with. And I prefer particular types of paint made by Badger Aeropaint Company. And you couldn't get anything. And then all the stores here in my locale were shut down, so we couldn't get any supplies. And people kept asking me to do stuff. And I did a painting, a remake of, what the heck is Mana Short. And that's the only one that I've actually painted in the last couple of years. You'd think during COVID, I would have been popping them out hand over fist. But I have a good backlog of paintings now that I'm pretty much not going to be doing a whole lot of stunt coordination or working with that theater at all. I'll probably end up going back to doing art or trying to do art. And I'll probably start off with doing the commissions that people have asked me to do for them. It just becomes a question of, I did this before.
Right.
Why do I want to paint the same thing again? And every one of those paintings, they're like 4 by 5 inches. They're only about this big, the original ones. So all the new ones I'm doing are 9 by 12. So they're much larger, which is easier for me because I can see it better.
Right.
And, I can make the airbrush work smaller without having to go really tiny like the one where I was doing all the original paintings. It was real tiny stuff, but
right.
At that time, I was drawing little tiny things for comics. So sitting there working small was easy. But I also used to paint, little lead figures, and I could see their eyeballs to paint them in. Now it's like, what is that?
Is that why you maybe is that why you don't do the artist proofs? Is because airbrushing is just too, it's not.
Well, yeah, a lot of people ask you to, it's become a thing now to draw sketches, and then it became we want you to paint on the back of our artist proofs. Well, one, I don't have any artist proofs, and I don't want to mess up somebody else's artist proofs, but airbrushing isn't that easy when it's only this big. Now they're asking you to do something card size.
Well, true, but didn't you say you have your artist proofs?
I have those ones that I just showed you. I have one of each.
One of each?
That's it.
Yes, but one of each could, it would buy a lot of airbrush paint, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, but then I wouldn't have it in my portfolio to show when I go somewhere.
It's true. What do you have, and I ask this because I'm always concerned about the legacy of stuff, but is outside of your family, is there a place where these would go to be put on display if, when the time comes?
Oh, when I kick the bucket, my wife will probably cash them in, move back to Alaska or something. But yeah,
so sweet. Because,
you get to a certain age where you have to realize that, you're not, I was the oldest of the original artists. I was the oldest, and you can only live so long, especially in a world like the one we have. So it's like,
right.
What are you going to do with all of this? And to me, there's, there is a legacy as long as people like you and others out there, the fans of this game, keep it going. They're going to say, wow, the original cards, these are really cool. But for the most part, it's going to be just one of those things. It's kind of like the comics books industry. Certain comics are always going to be worth something, but there's thousands and thousands of comics out there, and the original pages that are just pieces of paper. Nobody cares about them.
Well, you've got some pieces of paper that people would people are. I don't want to use the expression like shitting their pants to get a hold of, but that would probably be my guess on it. I know some people who are, if they could hear the conversation now, they'd be salivating. They'd be like,
well, there's people out there, I'm sure, that, would love to get their hands on the actual originals. It's, and it's kind of like, I made myself a promise, and I promised the people that I'm doing the commissions for that I'm only going to do 5 of any one thing as a repaint in any particular size. And I write it right on the back so that anybody who gets their hands on one of these can flip it over and say, this is not the original. This is a remake of the original, and it's 3 times the size or 5 times. By the time I'm done, I might be doing 30 by 40-inch paintings. I don't know.
Yeah, it's true. It's just, I guess, I do understand the emotional kind of connection you'd have with your artist proofs, like giving them away. It is sort of like,
Well, I gave tons of them away, and then later on I discovered, oh, these things are actually worth something.
I mean,
But-
like, okay, for instance, Mana Short, do you know what the alpha version's worth?
No,
$2,999.
to somebody. I don't know who.
That's the market. Like that's if you want to get your
You're saying
hands on one.
$3,000 for that card that I have right there.
Pardon me?
I have one right here. You're saying it's worth $3,000.
Yes.
That's weird. Okay.
Yes. That's if it's alpha edition, yeah, that's what it's worth.
Well, what can I say? That's.
I mean, it puts you in a.
Is that in English or is that in the Chinese or Korean?
That is in American USD. Right now, you can buy one on Card Kingdom for $2,999. It is in very good condition, so it's not even in mint condition. There are none available in mint condition.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty much.
I find that amazing.
It is amazing. It's amazing because, it puts you in an echelon of artists that, I mean, think of and I say this, I've said this to a lot of you guys from the original ones, but it puts you in an echelon of artists like where you're able to, the pricing of your work is along the lines of what like masters would get for it. And it's surreal. It must be surreal to have that happen. I mean, it puts you in.
Well,
and it's a realm of statistical impossibility, but yet you've made it.
I guess in a way, if I was looking at it along those lines, and if I still had boxes full of them, that would be really great. But I also have to look at it. You're only as good as what the market wants to pay today,
right?
Because prices change. I mean, a lot of people don't like Picasso or any of Picasso's work. Personally,
they don't?
Yeah, a lot of people don't. I don't like Picasso's work. It's like, it's interesting, but it's not anything I'd hang on my wall. But then, I mean, my tastes run a little differently. I wouldn't necessarily be putting a lot of magic card art up on my wall either. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's certainly, the, at the same time, like there are people who, I mean, put their like bread and butter into doing that. Like it's something else. I mean, like
some people collect stamps, some people collect cards. I mean it's just a thing.
But yeah, you should definitely get onto NTG Goldfish and look up the costs of what your cards are, because some of them will blow your mind.
I would probably be surprised. Yes.
I almost want to just check a couple of them just to see, like, because reverse damage was a alpha one, right?
Yeah.
Alpha reverse damage.
You like that card? I take it.
I find it very interesting. See, now that one goes for just a mere $849. Just a mere, I mean, like obviously it's totally within every.
Well, a lot of people really like Mana Short.
Yeah, Mana Short. Pardon me?
Control Magic Blue. What does that one go for?
Let's see. I love this. This is like my because I mean it's great because I talked to a few other magic artists, and I tell them what it's going for, and they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Yes." They're like, you're joking, right? And I'm like, "No, I'm not." We can cut this out.
This is Control Magic Blue.
Just another mere 900.
Oh, well, there you go. How cool is that?
Just a mere another. Basically, the way that it goes.
For one little piece of paper, I mean,
right.
That's really interesting. This is one of my favorite cards.
That's a great piece of artwork too.
Morris Cavalry. It was a lot of fun because it has horses in it, and people running around with swords and stuff.
And how many horses do you have? Do you have a lot of horses now still?
I now have only one. He's an Andalusian stallion. He turns 22 next month.
Wow. How long do they live for?
Well, my old horse died at 38.
Wow.
But he had gone blind. He at 36, he was the world's oldest jousting horse that was still performing in jousts.
Wow.
But he went blind, and then it was pretty much downhill from there.
They're such majestic creatures.
They really are, and they're just like people, at least to me.
Well, yeah, they're so smart.
They have personalities, and
They're
they become your partner, and you take care of them, they take care of you, and hopefully that's what makes your life work.
They do a lot of like therapy with the horses. Like
yeah, they do.
Amazing. Let's for fun. Let's see what Moorish cavalry.
Sure.
Let's just see what funsies can be pulled up. And this is totally making me look like totally. Okay, let's see. Okay, we got.
You're money motivated. I understand.
I mean, like this ain't in my budget. I mean, I'm just saying. Who came first? The Moorish cavalry, was it unlimited or was it?
Yeah, its original was in Arabian Nights.
Okay, so that one's only $9, but
Yeah, there you go.
but
It's those fine mana shorts. I gotta dig a few of them up somewhere.
anything alpha really is going to, like, because that was a Stone Giant's alpha,
Yeah.
right? A Stone Giant. Let's see. Because it's very few that people are able to or willing to just like kind of find out with it. Yeah, Stone Giant's 220.
Well, I hope whoever owns them enjoys them instead of just, not.
Well, I mean,
I never okay, I can't say never. I played the game one time. We were on the Caravan American tour back in '95. And the rules to the game was we had to play with our own cards. So you had to use only cards with your name on it.
Oh,
Which I didn't do any land, so that didn't work too well. It's like, how are we going to play this when we didn't do lands? Yeah.
that's
And,
funny.
it took, I've watched people play the game, and I don't understand the strategies behind it because there's just so many different cards now.
Oh yeah.
There's
Oh, yeah.
so many different places where they play where they say, oh, you can't use any cards that were made before such and such a time. And it's like, so it's an ongoing, you have to keep buying stuff. It's started striking me like 40K. You can play 40K, but you can only use the miniatures that are made by that company. It's like, well, what do I do with all these other miniatures I've already painted? Thank you.
It's insane. Oh, by the way, regrowth 437. Just throwing that there.
What about Gaea's Liege?
Pardon me?
Gaea's Liege, is it got a value?
Like, just because it's so gorgeous, I will be pissed if it's not worth something, because it's just
It's a good card.
it is a good card, but it's also just very, very gorgeous. So let's see. Gaea's Liege is okay. Well, this can be very disappointing for you, but it's only $1,199.
It doesn't disappoint me at all. I just find it interesting that Mana Short is the one that everybody is paying more for. And I don't know why.
I mean, you got yourself limited edition alpha is going for $1,999 on eBay right now, or Gaea's Liege.
Yeah.
It's madness. It's madness. But you know what? I'm just figuring out there because I'm saying, like, you sell an artist proof here or there, and you got yourself enough money for.
Well, if I hadn't already sold them all, like I said, the ones I have are the ones in that folder right there where I have a proof. But it's okay.
But you part with one, you part with two,
it's all okay. It works for me. Maybe I'll do something new and different. We'll see what happens next.
Yeah, because It's just I know that my followers of my channel are very much artist proof collectors. We do an artist proof. The salivation is going to be insane. So.
Well, I know who to contact then if I decide to sell them, right? There we go. I'll just tell you, and then you can tell everybody.
There will be people who are interested in. But as far as anything that you're working on right now, is there anything that you're working on?
I just lost you again.
Oh, sorry. As far as anything that you're working on right now, is there anything that you're allowed to talk about, or anything that is upcoming that you would like to promote?
What am I working on? Collecting dust, drinking my tea. No, like I said, I have a couple of commissions that people have been waiting quite a while for me to do. I told them I'd do them someday, hopefully. I don't give them a deadline. I don't collect money until I even start on it. And I'd start them, like the one I was working on was a redo of Regrowth. And I've done it 3 times now, and I'm not happy with the way it turned out, so I throw them away.
Oh my goodness. Oh.
And then the client says, well, I'll buy the ones that you're throwing away. And I said, no, I don't want those out there. It's bad.
Oh, Dameon.
Just tear them up and toss them. But, you get frustrated
goodness.
when you can't do stuff. I mean, things like Regrowth, the first time I did it, probably took me less than an hour to paint the thing all together. And now it's like I slave over it, and I still can't get it, a bigger one, to look like the original. And it's like, well, that doesn't look the same. So,
I mean, but still, I mean, Jackson Pollock just went, there. He's happy with it. I'm just saying that breaks my heart because, like, I hear exactly where the guy's coming from. He's saying, I would have taken it. I would have taken it.
Yeah, but you have to say, do you want something out there with your name on it that doesn't meet your standards? I mean, the standards I had at once upon a time versus my standards now is probably different.
I hear you.
I mean, I know I did cards that now if I had the chance to do them over, I would have never turned in what I turned in.
But it was a different time back then. I mean, you guys were under a time crunch. There was not a budget. There was nothing.
Well, that, and I was working on, like I said, I was doing work for DC, and I was just trying to get that constant paycheck going. Eventually, I burned out on doing stuff there. I went to work for the comics industry because I thought, erroneously, that I could help change where they were heading, because they were getting really dark and ugly at that time point. And instead, I ended up, I was doing a 6-book miniseries, and I was working on book 4 and realized I was drawing exactly the stuff that I got in there to change. And it's like, so instead of me changing them, they had changed me. And it's like, well, you don't have to do these. Okay.
Right.
So that's what I did. I changed direction and said, okay, I'm going to go become an actor. A lot of people were going, well, that's kind of hard. And it's not. It's not hard to change your direction in life if you decide that's what you want to do. I mean, a lot of people say, well, I'm stuck in this 9-to-5 job. And it's like, then choose to do something else. And it's like, well, you don't understand. And it's like, yeah, I do. It means a lot of sacrifices to do something different. And if you're going to live your life, it's your life. You only get the one shot. So live it as best you can and enjoy it.
Did you enjoy Dameon's interview? Let me know in the comments. I'll tell you this much though. I have never known anyone to have Kevin Costner as a boss. I did, however, briefly work as a stuntman for the Lifetime TV movie of the week, One Life to Kill, A Vampire's Journey, starring Susan Lucci, an actor from Resident Evil. And if they had not shut the production down a day before principal photography, it would have been a thrilling reward. But you know what is a thrilling reward? Joining our Patreon. Bonus interview footage, early access to art auctions, bloopers, they're all there. So check out the Patreon and reward yourself while you support the channel, and who knows? Maybe we can scrounge up enough to get One Life to Kill greenlit one more time. It's timeless, like Casablanca. Only it's in color. Or it was going to be. I gotta go relaunch that movie before someone else beats me to it. Good night! Bye-bye!